Welcome everyone! Today we have a very important video, and today I want to talk about the central big picture overview over longevity and how to save your life. So this video will paint a picture about the three central pillars that we have to optimize in order to live to 100. So let's take a look what these three pillars are and why I believe they are the most comprehensive way of systematically extending your life and your health span. And you will be surprised what's in there. So let's jump into a little model I created with three central pillars that show us how we can live to 100 and how we can dramatically extend our average lifespan. The first pillar is lifestyle. And lifestyle falls into these two important factors, which is nutrition and exercise. In other words, what do we eat and how do we move our bodies throughout our lives? Now, when it comes to nutrition, we can actually learn a lot from different zones in the world that are called the blue zones. And these blue zones are populations that live all across the planet, from California, a specific community in California, to Okinawa, Japan, to the Mediterranean. And what we see there is that people live much longer than the average population in America, for example, or in Europe. And we can learn from these blue zones. I will make another video on that, by the way. It dives deeper into it. But we can learn a lot about the perfect nutrition or the most optimized nutritional regimen that we actually see today. The quick takeaway is go plant-based, and that doesn't mean militant vegetarianism. It means don't eat too much meat. Like, eat meat very sparingly, eat fish a little bit more, but try to keep your calorie intake from meat and fish to roughly 6%, right? As a rule of thumb, we see that these guys, they eat less than 5 servings of meat per month. So that's a little bit more than once a week. You have one meal, and we are talking 3 ounces of meat, and then you sprinkle in some egg and some fish, but very limited. And the rest is plant-based, and it's all about figuring out these plants. Of course, whole foods, there is no crappy food in there, over-processed food. You want to see what you eat when you buy it, pure ingredients, and we will talk more about this later. And then of course, fasting is always a very helpful starting point. I actually view fasting as something that you do from time to time, and you do it especially in the beginning of your journey when you are in bad shape, right? You might have elevated A1C and blood glucose levels, and you might be overweight. That's where fasting is the best. But once you are really in shape, fasting becomes less important once you implement that blue zone diet. Now let's go to exercise. When it comes to exercise, on the highest first principle level, we can boil that problem down into 3 central problems you have to solve. You have to solve your strength problem. And strength does not equate muscle, big fat muscle, visible muscle. Strength means more core strength, your posture, and that your body is generally able to keep itself in a lot of different positions effortlessly. So that's not muscle you necessarily see. That's muscle that makes you lean and gives you a lot of core strength. And there are specific exercises from Pilates and some other things that make you optimize in that area. The second one is just straight on muscle. And what we see with aging populations, or when you age, your muscle mass goes down, and that is correlated with a higher mortality rate. So you don't want to lose too much muscle. And here we are talking about weightlifting and the usual stuff that complements your strength training. And then finally, of course, cardio, or VO2 max, which is an indicator how much oxygen you can basically use in your body, and that is cardio related. So when we discuss these pillars, by the way, I'm not going to go into all the technical details. We will have separate videos on these, because each of these are, is a whole science behind it. But these 3 pillars are supposed to tell you the big picture. On the lifestyle level, you have these 2 big things: nutrition, keep it plant-based, mostly plant-based, limit your meat intake, and do fasting from time to time. On the exercise, as I mentioned, focus on these 3 things. The second big pillar of longevity, and that's the least talked about and maybe the most tricky, that opens up a whole big rabbit hole. But what we see, and we learned that also from the blue zones, we learned these factors of satisfaction that have to do with community, with the people that surround you, that you are not alone, and purpose, that you have some sort of meaning in your life and goals you're driving towards. We know that these factors are incredibly important for your long-term survival, for not dying, for multiple reasons. And one of the reasons we know that is that the blue zones, again, these communities that live much, much longer, they're very, very strong in these areas. They either have religious beliefs that keep them, focused on something, but all of them have strong communities. They hang out with their friends and their communities and their tribes, what I call tribes, every day. So they're never really alone. So we know from these blue zones by correlation that community and purpose are tremendous success factors. But we also know on the other side of the equation that loneliness is an absolute killer. And I think there was a study in the UK showing that loneliness is as bad as smoking. So the effects on your mortality and your survivability when you're alone, meaning you don't have real social interactions with people daily or continuously, is as bad as being a chain smoker, how it elevates your risk of death. So bad news. I structure the satisfaction pillar into 3 central things you need to optimize. Number 1, family. You shouldn't be alone. You should have a partner and you should have a family. That is more for our young viewers, right? 20s to 40s. Get that done. There are tons of studies that you're more happy and satisfied when you have a partner and a family and children. The second is your tribe, and that might be correlated, right? How do you find your partner? You need some sort of tribe. You need to have a community, and that becomes increasingly difficult nowadays in our atomized world, especially in big cities in the West. Very hard to get this done, but very, very important. So we can talk about that in a lot of videos to come, how we actually build that pillar. And third, what's your purpose? Now, purpose is very, very important because I will loop that in the end of this video. Why is your calling, finding your calling, your purpose so important? Well, you need a reason to go on, right? If you don't have a reason to actually live, why would you optimize longevity? And we see this with some, power-hungry politicians, right? In the US right now, the 2 frontrunners, Trump and Biden, are very old, and they don't seem to have too many energy problems because they have purpose. We can discuss if that's a good purpose, but that doesn't matter for this topic here. They are definitely driven and they don't want to die, and it's surprising how long they can make it and put a lot of energy in that. So finding that purpose is very important. Well, for some of us, the purpose might be tribe and family. Not for all of us, right? We need maybe something beyond that, but let's look for that. The third pillar, finally, is early detection. And as you can see, these pillars are very orthogonal, right? These are very independent pillars from each other. That's the point. And early detection is so important because that's where we have the hardest medical evidence, the most direct medical evidence, that by systematically implementing universal annual screenings across all the most deadly diseases, the 4 horsemen, cancer, cardiovascular, metabolic and diabetes, and neurodegenerative diseases, by looking and screening through your body with the right tools, some standard of care, some more advanced tools, and connecting the dots here, you can intercept all these diseases and conditions at early stage, and that is what is the most direct life-saving measure. So you optimize the first 2 pillars, and then the last pillar allows you to intercept any disease that comes up despite doing everything right here on the first 2, and helps us to defeat that. And we know that is, for example, super important for cancer, because cancer is this one disease that is the hardest to actually prevent through lifestyle and satisfaction, because we know even happy people who do the right thing, they lower the risk of cancer, but not, to the extent that this is gone. So these are the 3 pillars. And I think I created these pillars because I was always looking for what's the bottom line here? How do you optimize longevity and health span? And you can never find a real comprehensive answer. So here, this is my take on a comprehensive answer that takes the first principles of longevity drivers, which is lifestyle satisfaction early detection, and breaks them down into these subordinate drivers. And for each of them, we have a lot of videos coming up. So I think if you do that, you reach your goal. And I think I have a deep conviction based on the data that I've seen and the research that is out there, that if we would implement these 3 factors very deliberately and decisively in a population, which no one has ever done, because the blue zones, for example, they don't have early detection. They are not good at that. They optimize the left side probably pretty, not perfectly, but well. Satisfaction, they, to some extent, much better than us. But they don't optimize this area under the curve here. They don't have optimized these 3. But they already reach, 86, 88 years average lifespan, which is over 10 years longer than the population. So I believe we have here an option to really get this 100-year average lifespan goal very close into our target range. And I think then we hit a wall, but we can handle that with other measures. For now, these are the kind of conservative approaches where you don't need injections or something. My mission here is let's get us to this 100-year longevity goal through these pillars, and then we can take it from there. I mean, that buys us, 15 more years, so that's good. And one final comment, maybe, because some people ask, why do you even want to live that long? And that connects the dots a little bit, right? Lifestyle and early detection are tools to live very long. The satisfaction piece here has a recursive relationship to the 100-year longevity goal. Because once you have your family, your tribe, and your calling, you want to live very long. You actually don't want to die because your children need you, your tribe needs you, and you have a goal in life, ideally a goal that you can never meet that makes you more happy. I will explain this in a different video. And that gives you a real purpose to maximize longevity. So that is why this is all connected. And that is why this middle pillar is really the pillar that drives and gives us a reason and a meaning in our quest for longevity. So I hope you like that, and I hope that model gives you a good overview over how longevity actually works. And from here, we will go on now with a lot of different videos to look into these different factors and drill all the way down from how you exactly exercise to purpose, community, family, all the way into precision screening methodologies and solutions that are out there. So I hope to see you soon. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a board-certified physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. You should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition you have or think you have, and you should seek the assistance of a healthcare professional for any such condition. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are my personal views and opinions and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any company I'm involved in.